Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Telling It Like It Is. My name is Jade Alberts, the founder of Peer Guidance. Sharing knowledge and stories is why I started Telling It Like It Is. It is live. If you have a question, ask away. If you're watching this on another social media channel after the fact, put your question in there. It will get answered. I want to give a big shout out to the sponsor, Matador Pizza and Steakhouse. Yes, a pizza and steakhouse is sponsoring this, but you know what? Not only have they been serving Calgary's best pizza since 1976, they accept Bitcoin, and they also host a Bitcoin Well ATM. So walk in there, pay for your pie with the Bitcoin, and away we go. I'm pumped about today's guest, and it is Zach Storm, the founder of Startup TNT. Zach, how are you today?
I'm feeling great, Jake. It's great to be here.
Well, you know, I always love talking about how we met, and obviously met through, I came in as an investor for a summit last year, and we've kind of moved on. You're one of the few people that still haven't met face to face yet because of COVID. So I'm talking about that. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I had a connection cut out there. What's the question?
Oh, I just said you're one of the, after we met in the Startup TNT Summit, about a year or so ago, I said you're one of the few people that I haven't been able to meet face to face and have a beer with yet. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, we're going to change that soon this spring, I hope.
Well, I hope so. Exactly. So what I'm going to do here, Zach, is I'm going to give a brief little introduction and about yourself, Startup TNT, and then we're going to, get after it. So Zach is the founder and chief organizer of Startup TNT, an organization that raises money for local startups from local investors through a group deal screening process that teaches fundraising best practices. Zach has a PhD from McGill University and an MBA from the University of Alberta. He loves having fun, making friends, building companies together with Alberta entrepreneurs every single Thursday. I work with a lot of early stage companies, a lot of startups, some at idea stage, MVP stage, past that. And when I started seeing what Startup TNT was doing for our ecosystem, I smile every time I talk about it. I'm passionate about it. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to get involved, and the support that it supplies with customers, and not customers, but clients across all of it. You've raised $1.4 million for entrepreneurs in Alberta. How did you come up with this idea, and why did you want to do it?
It's very personal. It's actually kind of like you kind of touched on it at the opening. I personally was an entrepreneur a couple years ago, going through that ideation MVP stage, wanting to meet other entrepreneurs, wanting to meet people that could help me. And also at the same time as that was an investor in the ecosystem. So I was kind of doing both things at the same time. And I think that that's really valuable for the ecosystem to have people playing both roles. It happens on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And so the origin is actually as a happy hour. TNT stands as Thursday night tradition. So the origin really was just about getting together with other entrepreneurs, other investors, other scientists, casual setting, meeting every Thursday, place where we can just hang out, have fun, build companies together. And right when I founded that, launched that as a weekly Thursday night tradition, I heard about this concept of an angel summit. I saw a presentation from a group out of Seattle that did it. And I said, that is perfect. It's basically like an on-ramp for angel investing. You basically teach and train new investors how to go about structuring a deal, doing due diligence, investing in local tech companies. And I was like, this is the perfect thing to pair with a happy hour. So there's the origin.
And I think that's such a really good origin story. I mean, it's simple, it's basic. An entrepreneur, an investor coming in and trying to help out the ecosystem, which is priceless. I mean, you knew from being an entrepreneur, we know what an entrepreneur lifestyle is like, right? We talk about it all the time. It's a roller coaster. So were you able to take what you knew as an entrepreneur, trying to go raise money, build a business, hopefully having a big exit, or as an investor, were you able to kind of tie all this into Startup TNT?
Yeah, I joke that drinking beers on Thursday is the most successful startup I ever launched. That's how it started. But, there's actually a lot of truth to that. I think that it was the first time in my life that I had taken like a very entrepreneurial approach to trying to build something. Whereas a lot of the mistakes I had made for the previous few years of my life was probably being a little bit too academic in my mindset, building like a formal business plan, thinking things out, like how they would work hypothetically or in theory, rather than just getting my hands dirty, moving quickly, trying things out, see what works, getting a little feedback, and then moving sort of through the process that way. Because you can really look at all the stuff that we're doing the same way an entrepreneur would, where like we have a product, it's a happy hour. We have a product that is an investment summit, which is like a one-day event. We have a product that is an actual 8-week program where we're training investors and doing due diligence. And all of those things really are like individual products that are part of, the bigger Startup TNT brand. And just trying those things out quickly, moving fast, working with people, not being afraid to take risks. We did all that at Startup TNT in our first year, and I'm super proud of that, and it's worked really well. And now we're like a real organization. We're trying to figure out how to make a sustainable model where we can keep doing it, keep having the impact. I'm really excited about it.
Oh, and as you should be, and starting off with drinking beer. I mean, I always say no good story or good company ever started off with eating a salad, right? So beer is always, having a good base of beer just to build on is the way to go.
Yeah, that's funny. I used to be a vegetarian, and I was eating a lot of salads, and I rode my bicycle across the country with my brother, and somewhere in Wyoming, he was eating a bison burger, and I just said, "That's it. I'm eating meat again." I just grabbed the bison burger from his hand and started eating it. So,
oh my goodness, that's funny. Exactly. So let's talk about the kind of the guts of Startup TNT. I know there's some veteran entrepreneurs and veteran investors that come in here, but there's a lot of new entrepreneurs come in there. I mean, I think a lot of people in our ecosystem, whether they have their RSPs, their stocks, maybe they're invested in some Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, and they're like, man, how do I get involved in angel investing? Like maybe they don't have a big $25,000, $100,000 check to cut. How do these new investors? How do you get them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And when we launched this in Edmonton, that's where we started.
Yep.
There was actually a lot of conversation in the ecosystem on this very question. So there's massive engagement going on. There was lots of people raising there's a lot of wealth in our city. There's a lot of wealth in Alberta that's kind of on the sidelines, more used to traditional investing. How do we get more of investing in the tech entrepreneurship, or just like the scaling entrepreneurs that are really building different types of companies that can diversify our economy and grow quickly? Our philosophy, my personal philosophy in all of this is the motto of Startup TNT, which is have fun, make friends, then build companies. Create a space that's welcoming, that people want to be at, make it enjoyable, make it fun. People that are angel investing are doing it as a passion on the side. It's not a full-time job. So they're spending their money, but they want to spend it in a way that is positive, that they identify with. They have a strong emotional or maybe even spiritual connection, if I can go that deep, because they're seeing what they're doing as part of a bigger purpose, where they're now at a point in their life where they can invest in the local economy. We can get private capital going into building our local startup culture, our local economy, creating jobs. And so really, I think step one is creating that culture. And then what we're doing now is trying to share that news, but make it more aware that people. And then honestly, a big reason why we do the public events, the public pitch nights, the public summits, all that stuff, is to really try and broadcast to the world that, this is happening. And those of you that are accredited investors out there, you're welcome to join us. It's a friendly way to learn the ropes, get involved, and gain confidence to start investing on your own.
No, I couldn't agree more, right? And I think it's such a good thing in our ecosystem. There's a lot of misconceptions out there about angel money and how easy it is to get and what you need. And I see so many business plans where someone has it laid out. I'm going to be here, and then I'm going to be here for months, and then 9 months I'm going to get angel money. And then I was like, well, let's slow down here. If it works out for you, great. But you have to build yourself a really good company, and that's something that has impressed me the most of the summit itself, is the quality of companies in here. Some of them are, unfortunately, as an investor, have to exit a little early because they're getting VC-led funding, which is a great thing for a lot of companies in Alberta. Sad as an investor, as I said, but great for showing the quality of companies coming into Startup TNT.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The last summit we ran or that we're running right now, I should say. So it's a 2-month process culminating tomorrow, in fact, at the Alberta Clean Tech Investment Summit, happening live tomorrow between 3 and 6 p.m. A couple of the companies you mentioned signed up for that, actually raised their rounds before they even got to the summit, because we are at a point where we got high quality companies applying. There's certainly more than one investable deal in the group. And it's going to be a dogfight tomorrow to see which one the investors pick. I don't think there's going to be simple consensus. I think we're going to have multiple companies that the investors really like. So it's awesome. It's awesome to see that quality of companies and to see a bunch of investors excited about it.
No, it's just so true, right? I mean, it's a good dogfight though, right? Like it's
a dogfight that we want to see. It's a dogfight that we want to see. And that's the point. It's not just. We were talking about this earlier. It's not just a pitch competition. There is a pitch component of it, but it's really this process where the investors and the entrepreneurs are working together to understand best practices, what questions to ask, how to communicate your deal, how to structure your deal, how to go through this whole process. The pitch is just one component of it. And at the end of the day, the real goal is that the investors genuinely like these companies, genuinely like these entrepreneurs, and they can't agree on which one to invest in, and so they invest in more than one. And so that's why it's the type of dogfight we want to see. It's not just a winner-take-all situation.
Again, I'm talking with Zach Storms, one of the co-founders with Tim Lin. If Tim's out there listening, how you doing? You can click on Startup TNT in the comments section. Go find out some more information about them. Also, the Clean Tech Summit invite or Eventbrite is in the comment section. Click on there, sign up to watch it tomorrow. You'll see the 5 semi-finalists, and you'll see the 5 finalists, obviously, and the announcement will be made at 6 p.m. tomorrow. And, we'll probably hand out, the last summit, you're only supposed to hand out 150,000. It ended up being 705. So you touched on the process a little bit, but let's go into a little more detail how it works, because not only do the winners benefit financially from it, because it's more, as you said, it's more than a pitch. It is an investment, and other companies get more investments because of this, what Startup TNT has started. So talk about the process, how the companies apply, how do they get to the top 2010, and then eventually to the end.
Yeah. So, really our philosophy is about creating a friendly and approachable environment for both entrepreneurs and investors. Very much a real world setting, like this is real world. Entrepreneurs and investors go through due diligence, learn the ropes in this hands-on peer-to-peer learning format. So we have a bunch of investors. We've got 28 investors participating right now. We usually try and get between 25 and 30. We always want a handful of more experienced, seasoned investors, and then a bunch of new investors as well. So you want a good mix of the two, because a lot of the learning is happening between the two groups. These investors get together, they form what's called an angel syndicate. They each commit ahead of time $5,000 per person to go to the winning investment. And that investment is decided by shared due diligence and a democratic voting process. So over a period of about 7 weeks, the investors narrowed down all the applicants from roughly 30 to 40 that apply to a top 20, a top 10, a top 5, and then a final investment decision made live at the summit. And so there's some unique things in there, which is the investors are committing at the beginning to investing in companies that they don't even know about. And I think, to me, that's a really important, strong message that we like to send to the entrepreneurs, which is we believe there's awesome companies in Alberta. We want to invest in them. And we, as part of that process, we want to train and teach more investors how to invest in them as well and gain confidence in that process. And then for the entrepreneurs, a lot of companies, we invite companies to apply that we know are still at an early stage. I know that you're probably not quite ready to raise money yet, but if you want to raise money in 6 or 12 months, this is a great dry run to go through the process and learn about it, and sort of understand what that looks like. Get outside people to challenge your business in a very real way. So you're thinking about it, you're understanding what you have to do to communicate your deal, provide all the documentation that goes along with the deal to say, I'm a legitimate company. I've thought through my business plan. I've thought through the HR strategy. I've thought through the finances. I know exactly what I'm going to do with the money. I've got a plan in place and it's credible. And, be able to make that compelling case to the investors is on its own, a skill that needs to be learned. It's a type of sales pitch, really, that needs to be learned. So lots of opportunities for learning on both sides. And it's done in this natural, fun environment where people shouldn't feel afraid to ask questions and say, I don't know. And we're here to support them.
No, I couldn't agree more. And I think that's such an accurate description of companies that as an investor and even through peer guidance, I've had people reach out and say, hey, we went through this process, and after the first day, we realized that we probably weren't going to win. Knowing the quality of companies that are out there. And it's not about winning, it's about learning, in my opinion. And I think you touched on it, right? You've worked with some of these other ones down the road, and they're like, hey, can I ask you some questions? Can I do this? The Clean Tech Summit, again, which is the finale tomorrow, starts 3 p.m., announcement at 6 p.m. Click on the link in the comments section, is a very good example of there are the top 5 right now are all investable companies, and there's 2 that pulled out because they already got funding. So and every single summit that you have done, even the first one that I was a part of, the one that you did in Edmonton, I mean, those companies that you invested in are scaling and growing at an impressive rate.
Yeah, let me give you 2 examples of that, because you're right. Every summit we've done, more than one company has raised money. And that's pretty awesome. So 2 things you pointed out there. One is we've actually seen companies apply, not make it to the top 5, not raise money, come back 6 months later, and then be in the top 5 and raise money. And I'd love to see more stories like that happening. Like that's like really one of the big goals of Startup TNT is to, you apply today, you're in the top 20, you're not even in the top 20, whatever. You come back later, you improve, and then you raise money later. I love to see stories like that happening. Uproot Foods did that. And then a year ago when we invested in, I'm going to give 2 quick stories. One of them is the company that didn't win, but they did raise $60,000, Future Fields, who at the time was a very early stage cellular agriculture company. Didn't have any sales yet, working on building the media and the building blocks for cellular agriculture. So this is other companies that are growing meat in a laboratory environment, and they're buying a product from Future Fields to enable that. And Future Fields has since gone on to graduate from Y Combinator. They just announced that they closed their $2.2 million seed round. They've like tripled or quadrupled in size now. Like that's a really awesome story where local investors are supporting a local company at these very early days before they went to Y Combinator. And I love that story. I think as an investor, it'd be hard to get in on that deal now because once they graduate from Y Combinator, they're like super hot and it's hard to get in there. But they got to get the support of the local community before they went to Y Combinator, which I love. And then another great local company and local story is Drug Bank, who was a little bit farther along. They already had about 20 employees. They had revenue, but they've since gone from 20 employees to over 50 employees. Aside from Startup TNT, they raised like money from the Accelerate Fund, a couple of sophisticated VC funds out of the US, really awesome company out of Edmonton that the investors went in on. So like you mentioned, like really credible deals happening. We're seeing progress from earlier stage to later stage, and we're seeing a mix of different sectors and pre-revenue and revenue companies raising money at the summit, which is entirely the goal. So let's keep making it happen, Jade.
Exactly. Right. I think you should throw Aerolytics story in there too, where they won the summit here in the Calgary, and then they ended up having 2 angel funds throw in more money to top their total raise up to over 700,000. So
yeah, actually, there's a really awesome component to the Aerolytics story. So that's a Calgary company, moved their headquarters to Calgary partly because that's where the center of the action is for their space, and they won the Calgary Summit in November. They raised about $235,000 from the Angel Syndicate. One of the investors that participated with us is someone that recently sold his company and is launching his own sort of family fund called MTech Innovations. And they separately went in on that deal along with Metiquity Equities. So between Startup TNT investors and Metiquity Equities and this new group MTech that actually participated in the summit with us, we were able to close the entire round for Aerolytics basically as part of the summit. And that's a pretty awesome story. That's a pretty awesome thing to see happening. And then another cool story is Arbor, who raised money from Startup TNT. They didn't win, but they've still raised like $135,000. I know that they told me that at the summit, they had people reach out to them to say, we love your deal, I want to go in on it. So they actually got investors just by pitching at the summit. And they also raised money from people like Blue Sky Equities and Thin Air Labs, great local groups here in Alberta, here in Calgary.
Absolutely. And apparently Jason likes my shirt. Peter Wrestling. Good shout out to Sea of Dead, right? Another good local startup clothing company here. So they've been on the show. Good shout out. Hey, gotta love them. but yeah, no, I mean, the stories that come and what you're creating, I'm just obviously a huge fan of, and seeing the money that goes out there, and seeing that the companies that are learning along the process that you talk about, that are at that early stage, and they come back and they make the top 5 and sometimes get money. But even if they aren't, they're actually learning from all the investors through the due diligence and making their company stronger. And they're not just sitting there and saying, yeah, whatever, buddy, right? I mean, they're taking it. And some of them have come back and said, hey, Jay, do you mind if I give you another pitch here? 6 months after I met them, and I was like, holy shit, you've actually made some really good strides, and you put a lot of the stuff that the investors have told you about into play. So, and it's made them a possible investable company now. Like, so it's almost free knowledge for the people that are out there, and the atmosphere that you're creating here is absolutely fantastic, and it all coordinates into also making them kind of have that relaxed, casual feel on Thursdays, every Thursday on Discord. So why don't we just kind of touch about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I would say, core to what we are, what we represent, which is having fun, making friends, building companies together. So in fact, TNT stands for Thursday Night Tradition, because we meet up every single Thursday. We've now been doing it for a year. Can you believe it? The pandemic's a year old. I can't believe it. A year's gone by already. We've been meeting online for a year, still every single Thursday. And so Discord is this kind of, it's kind of like a mixture between Slack and like a Zoom meeting almost, where you've got chat channels, you got voice channels, you can bounce around between channels. And we try to create that kind of fun, vibrant atmosphere that you would have at a brew pub, which is what we used to meet. But there's the disadvantage of being virtual is that a Zoom meeting can be exhausting and feel like work. The advantage is people can sign up from anywhere. So we've been more easily able to integrate with people like you, Jade, from Calgary, and as far away as Saskatchewan and other places that are joining us now. And so we still meet every Thursday. And then what we started doing, because a big part of what we like to do is showcasing what's happening in the ecosystem, we started doing these like casual 30-minute pitch nights that lead into the happy hour. So we try and do one every single week with at least 4 or 5 presenters. It's sort of like a show and tell for the ecosystem. Here's what I'm up to. Here's my business. There isn't necessarily a specific like ask or raise. It's like, here's what I'm working on. And then we go hang out at the happy hour just to kind of kick things off.
Yeah, I mean, for anybody that hasn't been there, definitely check it out. You don't need to be part of the investment team. You don't need to be part of the, anything that, with Startup TNT. You can just kind of slide on over and start introducing yourself. If you have questions, you can ask investors, and, in a very casual setting. And I mean, God, you guys have even set up every Thursday you have a biking group that gets going, and Damien's out there pounding some tunes in a room, right? Like it's a very, very casual, very awesome setting.
Damien, local music entrepreneur, shows up and entertains the crowd with songs. So like, yeah, all kinds of fun stuff happening.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. I try and make sure that I pop in at least every Thursday at some point. So I guess kind of what I wanted to, touch base on here is, and I think we've come across quite well saying what Startup TNT has done and raised over $1.4 million for companies in Alberta that helped them grow, that helped employ people, that are hiring people. They're expanding across North America with what they're doing, and Startup TNT is such a starting point for these companies. So anybody that wants to check out Startup TNT, go to the comment section. Our Clean Tech Summit finale is tomorrow. Again, the Eventbrite link is in the comment section. So so click on that, register, and then of course you can just slide on over to Discord after. Let's talk a little bit about Startup TNT. I mean, you started in Edmonton, you kind of grew to Calgary, you moved over and doing one in Sask, which the finale will be next Thursday, which I'll talk about next Wednesday with, we are going to have on Liz O'Connell, so the winner of Aerolytics. So she'll talk about her process, which will be great. So what's next for Startup TNT?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, we have been very much a volunteer-driven organization, and I don't want to lose that volunteerism, that can-do spirit that we have. But I think that we also need a little bit more stable funding resources, just to maintain the organization. So working on kind of the sustainability model for 2021, and ensuring that we can run 2 summits per year, concurrently in both Edmonton and Calgary. We did this in the fall as a test. We ran both cities at the same time. There's a lot of value in doing that. It's a way to kind of unite the two cities across the entire province. We see cross investment between investors from the Calgary region going in on Edmonton deals and vice versa. You see relationships forming between Edmonton entrepreneurs and Calgary investors outside of just raising money. A lot of value in that. A lot of opportunity to kind of showcase the Alberta brand beyond just our individual cities. So, and we firmly believe that this is something that should be happening more than once a year, which is why we're planning on doing it every spring and every fall. So that's job number one. And then job number two is, once we kind of have that all worked out, I think there's other ecosystems that are going to benefit from this. There's a real opportunity here to expand the Startup TNT methodology to more cities. We've already partnered with Valhalla Angels to do a Saskatchewan summit. We partnered with Actia and Energy Futures Lab in Foresight to do a clean tech investment summit, which is happening tomorrow. I think that, there's a real appetite for this approach to angel investing and community building in a lot of different settings. So I can't say specifically, where we're going exactly next, because we're still figuring it out, but we want to go to more places. We want to establish ourselves in Alberta, with confidence, and then go to more places.
Well, hey, Startup TNT is a startup, right? So, you can't run before you crawl, right?
Get to hang out with other entrepreneurs while I build my own company at the same time. Can't ask for anything more than that in life, to be honest.
Exactly, and you're practicing what you preach, right? Build slowly, make sure you have everything here, and then we'll then take over the world.
Yeah, honestly, and it's as an organization, we have the same types of growing pains that every startup has, where it's like, we want to do more things, but we need more money. We need to hire more people. We need to maintain our culture. We need to navigate all these things. We've got the same issues that the entrepreneurs are facing as they're trying to raise money. So in some ways, it makes me more empathetic and more easily to identify with the entrepreneurs come through the program.
Absolutely. Again, talking with Zach Storms here, one of the founders of StartupTNT.com. Head over to their the comment section, click on their link. The Clean Tech Summit finale is tomorrow. The link is in there already. Again, another shout out to Matador Pizza. They're probably one of the only pizza pie places in Calgary, even Alberta, that accepts Bitcoin as a payment. So it's a tech pizza place to go. So we will be handing out some prizes later on in the broadcast as we get going here as Matador sponsors. So, and you brought up a very good point there, Zach. Startup TNT is learning. So my last question is always the same, but I want you to put on an investor hat and think of what how to answer this question rather than from your entrepreneur side. So if you had one piece of advice for a small business startup or entrepreneur as an investor, what would that be?
Gosh, it's really hard to answer this question. This is not a question. One piece of advice. I think the best advice. I'm tempted to give two pieces of advice, so I'm trying to think about which one is going to be number one. I'll give both of them. I'll start with the one that I think is most important, and that is understanding your industry, your business, and your product and your customer as being the foremost expert in what you're doing, and being able to convey that to an investor. And I think sort of that shows the traction, the credibility. And the investors looking for the team has the expertise, the plan, the credibility, the trust, the likability factor, the ability to work together. That's what the investors are looking for. That's what they get excited. So focusing as an entrepreneur on really understanding everything about there is to know about your business, your customer, your plan first, and postponing the raise as long as possible. And then maybe follow-up advice 1B to that is just get out there, start doing it, start experimenting, try things, try quickly, try a lot of stuff. I think that's get out there, get doing it.
Yeah, great advice, especially on the, one point I would just want to touch on is that you said is, the likability, but the ability, not more so the ability to listen as the founder of the business and the ability to suck all the information in and not just sit there and say, yeah, I know everything, GT, here you go, I'm going to do it. So showing that, if you want to become investable, you have to, it's a 5 to 10 year marriage, right? So your investors are going to want to work with you, and you have to be open for new ideas and be able to implement some other ideas. So I think that's a very good point.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people use the marriage analogy. It's 100% correct. It's a long commitment between the two groups. Yeah. And, I think one of the challenges we face as entrepreneurs is there's so many people that want to give us advice, and we hear the same advice all the time. Sometimes we can get a little jaded into thinking we know what's going on, but you're absolutely correct. You have to kind of approach it with the same mindset every time, which is, every time I have a conversation with an investor or advisor or consultant, there probably is a nugget of information here that could be valuable to me. So absolutely open-minded.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know what, Zach? It was an unbelievable conversation here today. I appreciate everything that you've done. There's a reason that, when I sent and reached out and believe in what you do and what you have done to help all these companies and moving forward, how the Startup TNT team, and then you've hired, you have Tim on your team, you have, Braden in there, you have Brandon, you have Neil down here, you have, who am I missing? Brad's involved. You're putting together a passionate team that is, again, all geared for the right vision to help everybody in this ecosystem get better and make our tech ecosystem, our startup ecosystem, even stronger. And you're seeing that throughout. So thank you guys so much for what you started. It is making a difference from day one, which you can't say a lot about some of the things that have started in this company or other initiatives. So kudos to you. Thank you very much. And I'm pumped to watch what comes next and be part of it.
Thanks, Jade. Can I say one last thank you, Jade?
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to start with a broad thank you, which is building what we've had so far. I have made so many mistakes. I've done so many things without a plan. There have been so many people that have stepped in to help me. They're like, Zach, you didn't figure this out. You haven't thought this through yet. We need to help you. From very, very small stuff to like having a projector for the first screen for the first pitch night, which I didn't plan for, and someone else just like donated to us, to having like a deliberation room, to having all kinds of like very basic stuff. People just filled the gap for me and said, we'll help you. So I think that speaks to the type of community we have here and what we're doing that resonates with it. And also just a big thank you to you, Jade. You participated in the summit. You love TNT. You're one of our ambassadors now, helping us recruit other investors and entrepreneurs to participate. And that's what it's all about, building a community of like-minded folks that want to do this together. So thanks so much to you, Jade, and for having me on the show today.
It's awesome. I love it. And again, anybody wants to find out more about Startup TNT, click in the comment section. The Eventbrite for the finale of the Clean Tech Summit is there as well. And thank you again to Jason and your team at Matador for allowing me to buy my pizza via Bitcoin. So I appreciate that. Again, I hope everybody has a great week. Zach, thanks for coming on, and we will talk to you tomorrow.
Awesome. Thanks. Looking forward to it.
Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.